Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Over Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, we've had some very interesting confirmation hearings during the past few days, and it involves really the most vulnerable, let's say, of Trump's nominees. So it involved nomination for nominee for FBI Director Kash Patel, nominee for Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and of course nominee for Secretary of Health and Human Services Bobby Kennedy Jr. Now, what's always striking about these things, and particularly in the case of Tulsi Gabbard, was that here we have and true also of Kash Patel. Here we have this attack on two nominees because they are not ready to fall down on their knees in awe and stunned admiration for the institutions that they are being asked to head: the FBI, the CIA, all of the myriad intelligence agencies that have done obviously a very, very bad job. For many, many years, can go back to the Iraq War, can go back to Yugoslavia, but they've been doing a very bad job. And the gravamen of the attacks, particularly from the Democrats, but to a certain extent from Republicans, is that somehow you are undermining these wonderful people who are working at these institutions. But it should be, well, they're supposed to work for the people. The people aren't working for them. The people aren't there to sort of worship them. They are supposed to serve the interests of the people, which is why a president, a popularly elected president, gets to appoint political appointees to oversee these agencies. He's not supposed to just sit there and say, well, I'm just going to do whatever these bureaucracies want me to do. So, but that was the gravamen of the charges against Tulsi and against Kash Patel. I mean, Bobby Kennedy, we could talk about separately. Again, ridiculous charges against him, but it was slightly different.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The operative sentence that you just uttered is that we have a popularly elected president. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it was a landslide.
Yeah.
And so that must mean that there was a vote against the status quo. Well, these three figures are challenging the status quo. Again, primarily the Democrats, because they're just being demagogues and all this, and looking quite stupid in the process. I mean, really quite, I mean, these are low octane thinkers, okay? They can't even read the questions written for them very well. But this is really the establishment rearguard reaction. It's very bipartisan. The Democrats just seem to have this capacity to make fools out of themselves when they're looking for partisan points. I mean, if they were just to do the elite position, they might come off a little bit better, okay? But I mean, they have the double whammy of defending the status quo and this coming out with these outrageous statements, about and impugning the nominee's person, okay? Mm-hmm. Which is, again, we've pointed this out so many times, George. But we are in the era of people are saying, stop punching down on me. You're punching down on these people. It's a very bad look, okay? And I don't know about you. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time with it, George. I mean, these confirmation things can take a very, very long time. I saw the highlights, okay? Yeah. But one thing that was really quite interesting, and I thought quite strategic, because these are public hearings, Trump people, they took over the gallery and they supported these nominees, which is really, through the years, I've seen a lot of different confirmations, and the nominee is very isolated, alone, sometimes sitting just at their own little desk, okay? Not, with the three or four people next to you. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you're all by yourself, and you're made to feel very isolated, in awe of these, august politicians, which there's not one up there now. None of them, okay?
Right.
But these people, they stood their ground and they had home turf. I wouldn't say advantage, but at least some kind of solidarity. I mean, when Tulsi came in, they were chanting USA, USA. It was
Right.
very powerful, very powerful. What's most important here, said, the popularly elected president is putting these people forward. And
Right.
up until about like 15 seconds ago, George, usually it's part of, we used to be part of political etiquette,
Right.
is that the president wants this person. Okay. I mean, what was it, John Tower, when he was nominated for
John
Secretary?
Dowie he was nominated, yes, but that was George H.W. Bush. That was back in 1989. But the charges against him was they was drunk. He tended to imbibe quite heavily, and he tended to consort with women to whom he wasn't married, which again seems very strange why that was an issue, because he was single at the time, and why the senators should have been agitated by the fact that he does a lot of dating. But it was very funny because he was rejected by the Senate, and he was assumed unreasonably by George H.W. Bush. Well, John Tower, he's a longtime senator. They're going to vote for him. He's a good friend of theirs. He's a colleague. The Senate is always known for its collegiality. No, absolutely, they rejected him.
Yeah, but that he's memorable because it didn't happen very often.
Right.
Okay. It's only been very recently when we have this tug of war going on. And so I agree with George completely on this here. So what experience do you have in doing this?
Right.
Well, my reaction would be, well, the people that say they have the experience have screwed it up pretty badly. Okay.
Well,
maybe you should try something different. And that's their pitch.
Well,
now, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. In this case, I mean, with Tulsi, they said, well, she doesn't have experience. So, of course, she has experience. She's served in Congress, and she's served herself in the armed forces. And now, what did they attack her for? They, first of all, obsessed over Edward Snowden, that she had called for a pardon of Edward Snowden. The Edward Snowden affair, that was in 2013, so that's more than 10 years ago. Clearly, Edward Snowden had performed the public service. Now, you can absolutely, you can argue if you want that he didn't go through the proper procedure and, and whatever, he endangered American security and so on. Nonetheless, he was a whistleblower, and whistleblowers, there's always a threat that they could endanger secrets. I mean, after all, Daniel Ellsberg, everybody now, genuflects before him. Oh, Daniel Ellsberg. Oh, we all love Daniel Ellsberg. But hey, what he revealed were highly classified documents. He absolutely, was liable for prosecution for revealing highly classified documents. So, it's very easy to hero worship someone for 50 years ago. You got to do, yeah, but what about the people who are doing it today, which is what Snowden did? He took great risks. And then the whole argument, oh, he didn't go through the proper procedure. Well, if he'd gone through the proper procedure, he would have had the FBI knocking on his door, within 5 minutes.
He'd be in prison in the United States.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Dianne Feinstein saying, "Oh, why didn't you come to my office?" I mean,
right.
You're the one that absolved every single administration of all kinds of malfeasance. Okay, go to you,
right,
of all people.
Right. Right. Exactly.
No, I mean, these people have no sense of nobility whatsoever. Edward Snowden is a hero. He is a hero of the Ellsberg type. Okay.
Right.
And he's paid a very heavy price. He's paid a very heavy price for being a hero. Okay. No, it's just a public service. What was the public service? High officialdom in the intelligence community, on the record, under oath, said they were not spying on American citizens. Well, Snowden revealed it. That he should be commended. He should be given a medal. He should be given the job of the DNI.
Right. That's right. That's it. And then she did cave on the issue of Section 702, which she more or less had to, because the Republicans had made clear to her, we're not going to vote for you if you don't accept 702. Now, Section 702 it enables the intelligence agencies, especially the NSA, to spy on foreigners. The problem is that there aren't enough safeguards, that they're not simultaneously using that in order to spy on Americans. Because if you're spying on the telephone conversation of some Russian, well, that Russian may be talking to an American. Of course, that enables the agencies to spy on the American that they're talking to, and of course, then that is disclosed to the media and so on. Oh, it's not supposed to happen, but it did happen, and we know it happened in the case of General Michael Flynn, who was talking to the Russian ambassador Kislyak. Yeah, they were spying on Kislyak, but Flynn was an American, and it was Flynn's conversation that was then revealed in the Washington Post. That's a very serious violation of the law, but no one was ever held to account. Who did it? Who leaked this conversation to David Ignatius? No one seems to want to know. So they attacked her for that. Then, of course, they attacked her again for going to visit Bashar al-Assad back in, I think it was 2017. And again, that's supposed to be reprehensible. You go and talk to someone. I mean, does that imply approval of a political leader, that you go and talk to them? And then they went after her in February, on February 24th, 2022, after the start of the so-called special military operation, she said, oh, well, this was all inevitable because of NATO expansion, and not taking into account Russia's security concerns. She sent that out as a tweet, and that, of course, they brought that up against her. These are all perfectly reasonable things that she had done, but this was somehow, and we knew they would do this, but boom, they brought that again. She's going to be heading DNI. That's kind of the person you want who's head of DNI.
Well, I mean, in the issues that you've just mentioned, she's prescient. She's more than qualified for the job. Well, John McCain illegally went to Syria, but Tulsi Gabbard went there officially as a sitting congressperson. So, I mean, she was completely transparent.
Right.
Okay. And then in the same news cycle in which they're badgering her over her tweet on the start of the special military operation, oh, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this war should have never happened because Ukraine could possibly never win. I mean, no reflection on what the sitting Secretary of State has to say as you're grilling a woman that is essentially echoing the same sentiment, except for she was one of the only one, probably the only one in power that was right.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's what was the point. And of course, these was so ridiculous. But one has to say, obviously the Democrats are going along playing with this, which itself is very interesting because, back when it was George W. Bush, they apparently, were quite critical of America's intelligence agencies. Now suddenly they're extolling its glories. Ever since they plotted against Donald Trump, now they can't see anything wrong with intelligence agencies. They did do that in the George W. Bush era. Nancy Pelosi went to visit Bashar al-Assad in the George W. Bush era. Again, she did it in order to stick a thumb in the eye of the Bush administration when she did that. And so this idea that she did anything, that this is so reprehensible. Now the Democrats. I remember the Church Committee. This was back in 1975, which everyone again, the Church Committee, worship again, almost 50 years ago. They revealed a lot of abuses. But the problem was about the Church Committee was, of course, this was Democrats, and it was fun to do when you were trying to embarrass a Republican, because at the time, this was still the Nixon administration. Well, now Gerald Ford was president, but it was still essentially the Nixon administration. So yeah, they were using that. They were attacking the CIA in order to attack a Republican administration. There's no principle here. None of these people have any sense of, well, something is wrong because it's wrong. No, it's only wrong if it's done by the Republicans. When we do it, then it's fine. I mean, Bernie Sanders is the perfect expression of that. I'm against war. No, you're only against Republican wars. When the Democrat wages a war, you're on board. So that's unfortunately the dogma of the Democrats.
Yeah, and the proof is in the pudding. How many yay votes did Marco Rubio get?
Yeah,
He didn't get one nay.
he didn't get one thing.
Why? Because he kisses the ring of the intelligence
Right.
community.
That's right.
He licks their toes for them. Okay.
Right.
And if there was anything that was I can't think of anything more bipartisan than his confirmation.
Let's go exactly.
I mean, this was just the ultimate public circle jerk. Okay. It was
That's
really, really odious. Okay.
yes.
And now he comes out, well, I mean, the Biden administration did this. They did. No, Marco, you were in the Senate. I didn't hear you,
Right.
balking at any of these
Yes.
things here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, it was all the former administration's fault, but we're not going to change foreign policy. Okay,
Right.
all right. Yeah, all right,
Right.
I got you.
That's right. And then you have now Kash Patel. Now Kash Patel, I hate Kash Patel, but Kash Patel was the one who exposed. He was the first to expose the RussiaGate hoax. Because remember, the key thing that he did when he was working for Devin Nunes's House Intelligence Committee, the key thing was that they revealed that it was the Clinton campaign that had financed the Steele dossier. I mean, there were a lot of suspicions that the Clinton campaign was behind it, but they denied it. They went repeatedly denied. No, we have nothing to do with the Steele dossier. And they revealed, yeah, it was the Steele. They had it. They had the documentation. It was the Clinton campaign. And then, of course, most important was the Nunes memo. I mean, this goes back a number of years. The Nunes memo, which was obviously drafted by Kash Patel, which was that the entire basis of that Pfizer warrant against Carter Page, the entire basis was the Steele dossier. There was nothing else. There was no other documentation that they presented before the Pfizer court than the Steele dossier. And then they lied because they said, "Oh, there's an article in Yahoo, echoing the themes of the Steele dossier." But the Yahoo article was itself based on the Steele dossier that it had been passed on to them. So that was a very important. That was it was an important step in the unmasking of the RussiaGate hoax. So of course, they're all attacking Kash Patel again. He's not going to get any Democrat votes. None of them will admit that this RussiaGate hoax, you ran with this for more than 2 years, 3 years, however many years you went on and on with this. It was based on nothing. It was a total fraud that you perpetrated on the American public.
It's part of the DNA of American politics. You're never going to get rid of it. Someone's always going to go back to it. The past experience and the performance of the confirmation is evidence that they are eminently qualified for the job. Here's a guy that unraveled a clandestine conspiracy. He did it with very few resources, with a lot of gumption and determination, and he revealed a deep state operation. Give the guy the job. Okay,
exactly. That's exactly what you want. You want somebody at the FBI, precisely, who's an outsider and who's going to come along and take a very critical view of what the hell has been going on here. Nixon appointed 1973. He appointed James Schlesinger as head of the CIA. Nixon hated the CIA, so he got rid of Richard Helms, who was a kind of his bane. He got him, and he brought in Schlesinger, an outsider. Said, "Well, now you've got to clean this place up." But of course, Schlesinger was completely caught up in the CIA, and he didn't do anything. I mean, he was just immediately just absorbed the culture of the CIA. So that you want somebody who's going to keep his distance and say, "No, I'm not going to go down the path or the rabbit holes that they're going to present to me."
Okay, I'm going to sound like cranky old men here, but James Schlesinger, everybody, when he was tapped for the job, Remember the aura around James? He was a Renaissance man, you know. He was a sophisticate. I mean, he had a higher understanding of what they wrote about him. I mean, it was like the second coming.
Right.
And George is right. It slipped in there. And you know what, George? Nobody ever talked about him again.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. No, no, no.
Because he immersed himself in
Right.
it and he drowned in it.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Made no effort. I mean, he was tasked to do a job. Hey, you've got to clean this place out. And he didn't do any of that. And
Oh, I
he
remember
exactly.
him
But
with the pipe and all of
that's it.
that.
The pipe. That's
He
right.
loved the photographers.
That's
Oh, he was always prepared for a pose.
that's
I
right.
mean, this is before internet, everybody. So this is like Newsweek and Time and People. I mean, all of the tabloid magazines and all that. He was again the second coming. I mean, he was because and he was he was a much more sophisticated, Nixon, he was this country
Right.
bumpkin that,
That's right.
wrote
Yeah.
on the back of him. I mean, the worst things you could say about him. But here's a guy, he's cut from our cloth. He's acceptable. Okay. Holding his pipe there, doing a very, Douglas MacArthur look.
That's right. It was that. Yeah, you're absolutely right because he had a very waspy look. You know, he was handsome,
Very waspy.
and the pipe it made him very thoughtful. You know, studying these documents, puffing away at his pipe, and you can say, "Whoa, he's really crunching the numbers. He's really getting to the bottom of everything." And he's somebody who went through a number of positions. I mean, he did that.
Yes.
He was Department of Energy, he's going to deal with that. And then he was also Department of Defense. So he's someone who can crunch the numbers. You can't get anything past him. He's going to study the documents as he puffs away at his pipe.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was
great. He had greatness within his grasp. Everything was served up to him on a silver platter, and he had essentially just failed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Completely forgotten. I don't know anyone. I mean, other than the two of us, I don't know anyone.
We're the only two. I'll tell you, we're probably the only two in this calendar year that has ever mentioned him. Okay, on the planet.
I think that's right. I can't imagine who else would have brought up the subject of James Thesiger.
So, right.
Yeah.
What
back to Kash Patel. So I think Kash Patel, and now we can address the issue of Bobby Jr., who also came under
now that
ferocious attack.
That was good viewing. Okay. I did enjoy that. Everybody knows the issues George and I have with Bobby Kennedy. Okay. And we're going to leave that aside at this point. Okay. But if he is confirmed, I'm not going to leave other issues outside. We're going to keep ourselves very focused on the confirmation process. If he gets confirmed, then it's fair game. Okay. Just like we said about Trump. Okay. It's fair game. I have never seen anyone in my life top with retorts and facts like Bobby Kennedy did, and that is just something I've never seen before. Because as George has pointed out, they usually want to get on their knees. They want to go into the fetal position and beg for the job. Bobby Kennedy did not. He did not do that.
No, he didn't. I thought the most revealing moment came in his confrontation with Elizabeth Warren. Now, Elizabeth Warren is supposed to be the sort of the Bernie Sanders left-wing populist, friend of the working man. She's fighting against the big corporations, big banks, big pharma, big anything, big tech, everything she's fighting against. And then she had this a confrontation with him in which she demanded that he commit himself to not taking a dime from any future litigation against big pharma. And, he just said, look, I'm going to follow all the procedures, to ensure that I don't benefit, but I can't give you a guarantee that at some future date, I'm not going to take part in any litigation against big pharma. And in any case, whatever you make on this, you don't make that amount of money. I mean, the lawyers are the ones who make the money, the ones who actually press the cases. But the point is that she was actually, running interference for big pharma. Commit yourself that you're not going to take a dime from any possible future litigation against big pharma. Hey, aren't big pharma the problem? Isn't that the issue, that they're foisting crappy chemicals onto the public, fooling the public into taking this stuff, and then which then have adverse health effects. The most stark example of which obviously was the COVID vaccines. They didn't do anything, but big pharma nonetheless enjoyed complete immunity. But even before that, you had Vioxx, that was actually start killing elderly people. Merck had to cough up a lot of money because they were the manufacturers of Vioxx, and this happens all the time. But there she is. She's this left-wing populist attacking the litigators, the people who are actually challenging the power of big pharma.
Yeah, and take a look at the clip, everyone. So here's a very emotional, essentially tearful senator, the populist wearing pumps.
Right.
Okay. But she's reading a script.
Yeah.
She's looking down and I don't know. George and I impromptu do this. I don't have notes in front of me, but she's had her head down,
right.
directing it to Bobby Kennedy, and she's all emotional about it. Why can't you just do it impromptu? Just look at him in the face, but you can't.
Right.
Because it was written for you. Okay.
Right.
And the audacity of that woman to be anti everything big, and then she ends up being the CEO of Big Pharma Incorporated. It was odious what she was doing. Bobby Kennedy's response, I guess because he has been so badgered over the last year or so that he's got such a thick skin, and he just comes back nonchalant even, and not with a huff or a puff. And he just recite, essentially, I cannot predict the future, what the future is going to be. Can you? No one can do it. Okay. And I've been given this job to make America healthy again. He said that over and over again. That's what people want to hear.
Right. Exactly.
Because everybody knows. It's really kind of strange in American society is that you see sickness around you all of the time.
Right.
You see a very sick people. America, because of Hollywood, shows a very different picture of American society. Right. Healthy, eating right, exercising and all that. Well, yeah, they do that in films, but in real life, obesity is ubiquitous. Right. Okay, diabetes is ubiquitous, right. and other core morbidities. So, and I don't know, how old is Bobby? He's like
about 70, no, maybe 72, 73, I don't think.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a 72-year-old in better health.
He looks in very good shape. No question. But again, I mean, it's very interesting. Just to finish on the Elizabeth Warren, this business of making money. The only way you make money when you litigate is if you win. If you don't win, you don't make any money. So therefore, if they win, then it will be evidence that Big Pharma had done something wrong. I mean, they wouldn't win otherwise. I mean, in other words, that somehow whatever something that they brought to the market hadn't been properly tested and had adverse health effects or whatever. So there was that. But the other thing is that with this thing with the vaccines, and which you're supposed to worship the vaccines, and again, why is there this proliferation of vaccines? Why are you shoving all these chemicals into exactly tiny infants with very weak, undeveloped, vulnerable bodies? You're shoving all these chemicals into them. I mean, I think anybody should be very wary of doing that.
It's a patient for life.
Right.
It's a patient for life. You're going to be pumping chemicals into children until they're young adults, until they're retirees. You're going to be pumping them over. That's it. That's the reason why. What I thought was really interesting, again, I've never seen a confirmation like this in my life. He's more qualified to run that agency than probably maybe there are more, similar people like him, but
Right.
not very many.
Right.
And he knows far more about Health and Human Services than anybody else on that
Right.
committee. I mean,
Right.
by a long shot.
Right.
He humiliated them.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
I don't know what clown asked him, "Are you a conspiracy theorist?" And then he debunked every single conspiracy
Right.
in recent memory in public.
Right.
And, no, and there was no retort. You can't answer because yeah, he debunked it. Okay.
Right. Right.
I mean,
Ah,
and
yeah.
I mean, this guy's. I've never seen anyone who had numbers at their fingertips like that.
Yes. Yeah. No. That's right. Um. So, what are the odds? Do you think how many of them are going to make it, if any?
Still,
Um. It's a you know it's
this is backroom stuff now. This is smoke-filled room stuff that we're
right.
doing.
I tend to think that all three of them are quite vulnerable. Um. And the problem, of course, is with these Republicans. We know Collins, she's in a blue state. It's very hard to hurt her. Um, Mitch McConnell, he's just simply, he's filled with this hatred for Trump. He's on the way out. He just wants to do as much damage as he can to Trump on the way out the door. Murkowski, Alaska is a red state. She calls herself a Republican, but they have this peculiar voting there that, however much Republicans want to get her out, but this I forgot the name of this thing that they have there. She manages to win an election, even though she was thrown out by the Republicans. She lost the primary. She still manages to be the senator from Alaska and calls herself a Republican, because if she were to call herself a Democrat, which is what she really is, then the Alaskans would vote her out. So that's three, pretty much guaranteed will vote against all three of them. So therefore, Republicans only have to lose one more in each case. I would think Tulsi is the most vulnerable. It didn't look to me like the Republicans were particularly happy with her. So I have to think that one or two, maybe more Republicans are going to vote against her in addition to those three.
Yeah, because the people that will vote on her, none of them have any courage.
Right.
Okay. What's the upside of confirming Tulsi Gabbard for a senator? What's the upside, George?
No, none. There's none at all. None at all. No.
And you'd say, well, what about Trump? Well, George just did the numbers for us. It's just so razor thin.
Right.
That Trump can have, impact. But if they had a larger majority, then you can play the senators off against each other.
Yes.
You can't do that.
No, you with such a narrow margin, it's very difficult. And do you think any Democrats will vote for Bobby?
No.
No, I don't either.
No.
There was times when we were thinking, well, maybe Fetterman, who was a bit of a maverick, Fetterman would do it, but it doesn't look like Fetterman is gonna take any risks and vote for Bobby. So I mean, there's been some speculation that one or two Democrats would go over. I don't see it.
Fetterman is trying to artificially create some kind of legacy because he's still marginally a joke, with his dress code and his wrapping himself in the Israeli flag and all of this.
Dress code, wearing shorts on a winter day. Yeah, yes.
He could easily be primary, not by Dr. Oz,
Right.
which is one of the biggest political jokes of our lifetime. What a slimy guy that Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Oz, you were defeated by a man that couldn't talk.
Couldn't talk, yes.
That's your legacy.
Yeah. However, I do think though that he might be a contender for 2028. He's maverick as long as his health. I mean, I don't know if his health holds out and he improves. Yeah, I think, he might just have a certain originality. He's not quite on the left, he's not on the right. You know, the Democrats, I mean, have to in some ways Trumpify their party. They have to somehow absorb the lessons of why they got thumped so badly by Trump, in the way that the Democrats had to when they got beaten by Reagan in two landslides. They had to in some ways Reaganize the party, and so they came up with Bill Clinton. Somebody who's sort of taken on board the lessons of Ronald Reagan. So I think Fetterman could be the sort of the Trumpification of the Democratic Party.
The irony is that could have been Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, right.
That's the real irony, and I think there were, given the Reagan experience that the Democrats had to experience. It's interesting that I think when Tulsi came on the scene, she was kind of like a fallback position. We
Right.
might need someone like her one
Right.
day. Okay. Anyway, fate has dealt everyone a different hand here. I think I don't know. My money is they're not going to make it through. That's my gut feeling. Okay. There's no nobility here. Bobby Kennedy is eminently qualified to do that
Right.
job. Tulsi Gabbard, I think, would be a breath of fresh air.
Right.
Actually, really, considering the catastrophes that are in front of us.
Yeah.
Kash Patel, well, I don't know. I think he earned it. He showed that he knows how the
Right.
entire
Exactly. No,
community works.
absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. You want somebody there who is very critical of the agencies, and that's why all three of them have been appointed to those positions, and all three of them are very critical of the agencies that they're going to head, and that's why they're very good appointments. That's exactly what you want. You want somebody to take the helm who's going to say, I think this agency has been going wrong for a long time, and we got to do something about it. And again, you know, HHS, you say, well, hey, life expectancy keeps going down for Americans. We keep spending more and more and more on health, but why is life expectancy going down? But we're not getting good results for the money that we're spending. So that's exactly what you want, somebody who's going to take a critical view. Same with Tulsi Gabbard with the intelligence agency. Hey, we're getting bad intelligence from many parts of the world. We've got to see what's going wrong. And the FBI, obviously, I mean, the FBI has been a disgrace now for many years. How many elections have they now interfered with, midterms and presidential elections? Clearly, something has very badly gone wrong in
Yeah.
FBI.
Well, and George, if there is no corrective, they'll do it again
Of course they
because
will.
they know they can do it with
Right,
impunity.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So,
I mean, we do have solutions here. I mean, I have, all three of these people that we're talking about, they're ardent Zionists, and it's a really big problem for me, very big problem. And it's
but at
going to
least they're
be.
not really doing and have nothing to do with Zionism
No, no. I mean, no. There are pieties that you have to bend the knee to, and that's one of the most powerful ones, and so they're not going to mess with that.
right,
Um, uh, so it was it shows why we need change. Will we get change?
right,
It's a different question.
right, exactly. Yeah.
All right, we'll see where this goes. Kudos to Bobby. That was a performance. Okay, unscripted. All right, everybody, this is Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Locals, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. This is Friday. George and I will reconvene on Sunday, and then we have the live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern Time Monday.
Exactly. And then on Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time for my solo live stream. In the meantime, you got to think about these dogs. I mean, they are now getting really, really in a foul mood. And when they're in a foul mood, then things get pretty scary. So, if you have a few bob in your pocket, look at this is really dangerous now. If you have a few bob in your pocket, whip them out, dunk them into the tip jar. That'll calm them down for a little while. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the
They're
more
reduced to eating pig ears.
Yes, the pig ear. Okay, yeah, that's just a pig ear. That's all he's getting out of this tip jar. I don't get anything else except a pig ear. I need more. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.